Hi, I'm Russell Sturgis. I'm the founder and principal of EAP Mentor, and welcome to the third in the series of blogs that I'm doing on mindfulness in business. And today I'm talking about productivity and engagement. And over the last few weeks, I've seen several articles and heard several interviews with people in the business world who are expressing the whole idea that engagement and productivity is one of the biggest challenges as it relates to their staff. I want to start with the whole notion of values, and I talked a little bit about this in the blog last week. What we value individually is reflected in how we spend our time and our resources. So in other words, if we look at money as being one of the key resources, and our abilities and our talents is another part of that. And I guess time is really, but I kind of separate that out a little bit. So what we have is each of us have access to a measure of time. We have access to money, albeit different amounts based on our different circumstances, and we all have different abilities, but we have abilities that we're able to use and apply. And invariably, the way in which we decide to use our time, our money and our talent is reflected in what it is that we value. Engagement and productivity is about quality of time and talent being expended within a work framework. And so once again, if somebody values their work, then they will apply their time and their talent to that based on the fact that this is something that they value. This is always going to be the case. We will never spend our time and resources on things that we don't hold as being important, on things that aren't valuable to us. And so if you've got people who are underperforming in terms of their level of engagement and therefore productivity, there's a very good chance that they don't value their job very much. So it comes back to what it is that we value. And so ultimately it's then exploring the idea between unsustainable and sustainable values. And really in terms of, if you're wanting to have sustainable productivity and engagement, then it would mean that there needs to be sustainable values. And if you want to avoid a lack of engagement and productivity, then it's about making sure that there isn't investment in unsustainable values. And of course, one of the real challenges that we're facing today, and I suspect it's probably responsible for our epidemic of depression and burnout and a whole lot of the other things, compassion fatigue, that we see with people in their employment situations, is this whole sense of not being clear about values. For all the hassle that religion has afforded us, one of the things that it did do was that it gave people a sense of values, albeit they may not have been ideal, but at least people had a sense of what it was that they could prioritise around how they spent their time and resources. That's gone now, and so people are kind of lost in terms of values, and particularly they don't have any idea of sustainable values. The whole notion of having a conversation with somebody about sustainable values is it just falls on deaf ears. They're words that don't mean anything. And of course, what we have is a whole society that is essentially based on unsustainable values. And by that we mean things that don't have longevity, that don't last long. And ultimately, that fits into three fundamental categories. One is material values, and so that's got to do with security and financial stability and debt and being poor and all those things. So it's all about, it's around the material security, emotional security, and here we're talking about acceptance and approval and rejection and all the things that are associated with feeling loved or unlovable, feeling included. And then we have the third one, which is feeling powerful or feeling powerless, and the need for us to create a sense that I can be self-determined, or that we feel like our lives, we've lost control of our lives and other people are controlling us and we're powerless. And so all of the drama and all of the challenges that we see being played out, most of the stressors are around those three things. Mindfulness as an approach to living life is about aligning yourself with sustainable values. And as I've written in the blogs over the last several months, mindfulness is remembering in each moment that there's a more self-loving alternative to the habitual way, the programmed way that you've turned up to living life. And the programmed way is invariably around material security and wealth. It's around popularity and avoiding rejection, and it's about powerfulness and victimhood. And so what we have is an opportunity in mindfulness to become more aware of our personal worth, and therefore more aware of choices that would reflect that sense of self-worth, which would mean that we would be making self-loving choices. This now becomes more oriented towards what I call sustainable values. And so this is about beginning to decide that instead of burnout and instead of the stress that you experience, and instead of the loneliness and the fear in relationship and all the things that are typical and we often see dramatized in movies and on TV and in the lives of people, expressed in the news and all the other things, instead of life being played out in that way, life could be played out with inner peace, where you're able to come to each moment with a sense of staying in a place of inner peace, where there is stillness in your being as you encounter each moment in life. Joyful relationships that are honouring of self and of the other person. Clarity of purpose, where there's a real sense of what you're here to do, and a way that you can make a difference to the world, the way in which you can contribute, and of course a real commitment to personal health and well-being. So what we have is this whole notion of approaching work with a new set of values that are based on sustainable values, and this is built on the foundation of mindfulness, which is the practice of remembering that in any instant you can choose a more self-loving alternative, and of course the reason you would choose that is because you have a greater sense of your self-worth. And one of the things that we do differently at EAP is to help people understand their personal narrative, the belief that they hold about themselves that says that they aren't worth it, that they lack worth, that they don't have value. And so next blog, I'm going to talk a little bit about how this is really important in terms of being able to live mindfully, such that you can align with values that are about service, about truly listening to yourself, to other people, that are about work-life balance, that are about being able to manage stress. We can't get rid of stress in terms of stressful situations, but how we relate to it, we can manage. And that can come quite naturally once we have a greater sense of our worth and what it is that we value. Hope you are finding this series of interest. As I said, we're going to sort of get to the nuts and bolts of it next blog, in terms of how we can have people sustainably turn up with a desire around how they engage in their work, such that they're highly productive and are really seeing that their work has value for them in terms of how they serve the world, how they serve themselves, and the way in which it fits in with their sense of purpose and contribution. Anyway, if you want to know more about EAP and the work that we're doing, you can go to our Enhances Awareness Program Facebook page, and please go to eapmentor.com to find out more about the programs we offer. We've got a lovely program called Pathways to Mindfulness for businesses. We also do it for schools, we have it for adolescents, we do it for educators, we do it for health professionals. We've got a whole range of approaches in our Pathways to Mindfulness programs. Please go onto the webpage and have a look, and if there's anything that we can do to give you more information, don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.